your evil mind.
Hold your insulting tongue and mock my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles.
Audio's out on my end. I did not hear the entire trailer this time.
If it isn't one thing, it's... And that was cutting in and out. Awesome.
Sounds like something else needs to be rebooted.
I don't even know. But hey, welcome to the Comic Book Chronicles, folks. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at NewsNerd on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can also find me on CBCaps on Instagram. Yep, very much still cutting out. Great. And the sound effects that you may have heard, or you will actually fully hear when I do a little bit of editing behind the scenes, comes from none other than our man in Brooklyn, 1agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings, live and direct, just like pretty much, although not every week. All right, here we go.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Indeed. And folks, you can find us on the Coastal Leather Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Leather Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. So, folks, you've been waiting for it, waiting and debating for so long. Something like a Cool J song. But we're going to start off the show running with spoiler-free discussion on the first 3 episodes of Marvel's Ironheart, which, as I totally forgot to do, get the names of the thingy-bobbits. So let's see. We got episode 1 is called "Take Me Home." Episode 2 is called "Will the Real N.A.T.A.L.I. Please Stand Up?" Please stand up. And episode 3 is "We in Danger, Girl." Which there's a callback, but it was funny nonetheless. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna talk about it spoiler free. Let's see. I will say right off the bat, I do love the title treatments for the show because they're kind of unexpected. Because like you see the scene going on, and then all of a sudden it just pops to the name of the show in some way, shape, or form, and that was kind of a fun treat. Good to see Dominique Thorne back as Riri. Good to see Cree Summers anywhere. Who shows up in the first episode. That voice, that name and voice, of a lot of people's childhood, and also a different world. But outside of that, well, not even outside of that, outside of that, like I said, I'm not sure. And because there's like 3 episodes and they all are gonna seem to kind of blend together at some point, I don't want to say too much without spoiling anything, but I pretty much did like the execution of it all. There were some things that kind of made me like, that seems kind of comic like for the purposes of the show, but also like some things and possible choices character wise that could have been a little bit different, I guess, but at the same time it wouldn't, if that was if that didn't happen like that, and then the show would not be much of a show, I guess.
Right. Right.
What
At
about
least
you?
from my point of view, I did find myself yelling at the screen. That's what I told Roddykat in our pre-production meeting, because just because you're one of the smarter people in the room or in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that almost never is a means of preventing making even the silliest of mistakes. And so you find yourself yelling at Riri because there's just some, like, I don't know if it's like single-mindedness or narrow focus that like leads her to lose the forest for the trees, because she makes these decisions with the intent of you know well, basically fueled by her desire to make her own suit,
Mhm.
right? And that's like the be all and end all. And in the pursuit of that, she makes certain choices, and I couldn't help but find myself yelling at the screen, much like I would in like a horror movie or uh, some other certain other things, like even a sports game. Like, what are you doing? Like, like, that's just stupid.
It's true. We've seen him
But
do it plenty of times on the show on sports stuff.
exactly, so you just can't help it. And honestly, I understand that it's somewhat true to Riri's character and the way she's written in the comics, and that part is at least true to the source material. But yeah, like I'm still having a little bit of trouble connecting with the character. I think that she was a little easier to connect with during Wakanda Forever, because she's kind of a blank slate, kind of shoehorned into Wakanda Forever, as it were. But here we're getting her origin, so I'm willing to give it the second 3 episodes to see how I will react moving forward. This is not perfect television, but this is something that you can watch.
Well, that's a way to think about it. I just wanted to bring up something real quick, because it's worth noting that this is like some of the things that we're talking about are not just uh to reread. Like, let's put it this way, because even whether comic wise or even on the screen, like if we were pointing to the MCU, Tony Stark has made plenty of mistakes. Look at Age of Ultron, and
Well, we're not. Well, I was about to say we're not. That's apples and oranges,
is it though?
right? We're talking. Yes, it is, because we're dealing with a teen character. So, we're dealing with, a teen character who's going to have flaws and is going to deal with like kind of kid mistakes, because they just don't know any better at this point. So, I'm willing to give her a lot of that benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, this guy, like, let me put it this way. This is, it definitely makes some sense, but just not the sense of like someone who's already like, approaching some kind of genius level intellect, where you kind of fall in with the wrong crowd and you're like, well, I just need a little bit of scratch to do X, Y, and Z. And to accomplish that, I have to kind of get in bed with the wrong bedfellows. There are multiple stories of people who are younger who fall into that kind of trap and think that, oh, just this one last job. And that's, we find ourselves like 3 jobs in, and I'm like, yeah, you can kind of get out of this. You can't, you don't have to stay. But at the end of the day, we find ourselves, with her making some of these mistakes that find you yelling at the screen. Like I said, this is much more of a teen genius thing, as opposed to like a Tony Stark thing. I don't think that's a fair comparison. That's very much an apples and oranges thing, because at the end of the day, Stark has always been linked with being a weapons dealer and a drunk, and an addict. So those are like faults of the character that have been kind of developed and dealt with over multiple mediums. So I don't know what Riri's respective vices might end up being, but like I said, I kind of chalk up her actions to like being like a teen hero. But still, like I said, I'm not 100% familiar with all of her comic book backstory, like not in the basic sense. I deal with her in team books. That's just always been the way I deal with a lot of these teen characters. I don't think I remember reading many of her solo limited series.
So here's my point. I think the comparisons does still stand because one, and this goes for anybody: Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Lunella Lafayette, any of them. The people that are too smart for their own good are still stupid in other ways. Is my point, and they've all done stuff that's like for seemingly good reasons as they thought because they're so smart. That they forget about, hey, this could happen or this doesn't happen, like, and this is still a similar place. Now, granted, I will give you the whole team thing because yes, that is also still true. That part you said is also still true, but I still think she also still falls into the whole I'm smarter than everybody, and also I'm thinking a singular way because I'm thinking smarts is going to, I'm thinking my smarts is going to give me all the answers. Again, same way Tony, Reed, anybody else that's smart in this universe or any other universe. That was my whole situation. That was my whole thought pattern on that. And I think, we can disagree on it, but like I said, it's still like, and there are stories for all of those characters I've mentioned that can kind of go with that point. So therein lies that. That being said, I forgot. So what else I was going to say about the show? So outside of the fact that one, we're getting 3 episodes this week, and we're getting 3 episodes next week, and that's going to be it because it's only 6 episodes. We can talk about the fact that, and actually it's worth talking about because that was a question I was going to ask you. So Anthony Ramos as Parker Robbins, the Hood. What are your thoughts on him? Weirdly enough, I think that this version of Parker is kind of more personality than comic book version. But that's just me. I don't know, at least at this point, put it this way. But, things are going to be different when you're going from, comic book to a live action adaptation. So
I'm trying to think if the Parker Robbins in the comics always had a family, or is that a more recent development?
Yeah, that's another thing because as much as we know
that changes, right? That changes a lot of his motivations in the recent term. I'm not sure if that stuff existed in the early parts of the existence of the character,
right.
Because this version of the character is very much a hipster hoodlum. Right, because he has a lot of the kind of modern day progressive talking points folded into his criminality, and he uses one to kind of further his goals in the other and create a twisted, warped version of like the Robin Hood tale.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you could say it's the Parker Robbins Hood tale.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wait, where is it? And that's essentially the story that he's selling Riri. Like I said, it's one of those things where you're yelling at Riri, you're like, come on, seriously, you're gonna fall for this BS, call it malarkey, shout out to President Biden. But yeah, you're gonna fall for this hook, line, and sinker? Really? So that's kind of where I was willing to give some of the benefit of the doubt, because she's still very much a teen hero. I don't know if she's broken 20 at this point in the show or the MCU's timeline, but yeah, pretty much still a teen.
Yeah, it's a good question because they don't really, all they say.
Well,
is
they
like,
talk
yeah,
about
she's-
her,
yeah,
right? They
it's-
talk about her getting into MIT young,
Right.
but she's also been there for 4 years. So
Right, but that still doesn't. Yeah, but even she went. There are people who've done that, and just still come out under 20. So.
right, that's exactly.
right.
Like I said, just like the math is nebulous, so it's
Right.
hard to know.
So that's
So-
that's a good it's a thought. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I as we're sitting here talking about the show, like there are still things that that I've still been kind of mulling over with the show that also might actually make me end up watching the first 3 episodes again. For reasons. But we there are some of the side characters which with some of which we know from the comics, and one of which is basically brand new to the MCU, and also has a tie to early part of the MCU, as we find out. Now, this is a slight spoiler, but we're not telling who it is or what it is. You can find that out for yourself. But I'm curious as to if you had any thoughts about anything of that nature before the reveal, or were you just thinking?
It's a twist on the character's backstory.
Right.
That's all I can say. It's a twist on it.
But did you think like, oh, okay, there's a tie to that, basically, or
I mean, it ties it ties these armored characters more together.
Right. So funny enough, before I watched the second episode, I think I saw something that mentioned it. So I guess I kind of got slightly spoiled on it, or it was either a news article that came out before this that might have rumored such a thing. But it was like, to me, it was kind of like, yeah, okay, sure, that makes sense. Basically, it was like, it makes sense. And even what we found out about the character, and even in that tie, it was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, where does that go from here? I guess it's going to be the thing to put something on, or if there's going to be anything after this, So, but that being said, though, unless you got something else that you wanted to mention on the show, we can kind of push it along. All right, I'll take that as a no. Cool.
No, we're good.
So yeah, so that was Ironheart, and like I said, we got 3 more episodes next week to talk about, and we will get to that then. But now we're gonna go into the books, starting off with The New History of DC Universe, number 1 of 4.
Oh, we're gonna start with the
Oh yeah,
the mind-numbing book here. Okay. Let's see. The New History of the DC Universe, number 104, is written by Mark Waid, with art by both Todd Nauck and Jerry Ordway. Colors are by Matt Herms and John Cleese, and letters are by Todd Klein. Now, as I mentioned, this is a little bit of like a mind-numbing trip down, like, some relatively confusing twists and turns, right? That DC's history, has taken since its inception. And, Roddykat and I were talking in pre-production about how you got to give Wade a little bit of credit for making some of these calls on how to fit all this together.
Mhm.
I'm personally dumbfounded as to how to some of the decisions that editorial must have made along the way, and they were just like, well, the hell with this, no one's going to try to connect any of this stuff at some point,
Right.
so
that
let's
they were
just
okay
keep
with.
adding on this tapestry,
Right.
this crazy quilt of DC history that is just mind-numbing, absolutely mind-numbing. And I of course understand that, you know, we're talking about weaving together like various properties that were not originally DC characters. We're talking about some of the Charlton characters. We're even talking about some milestone characters that they, you know, that you end up seeing one of them kind of uh, uh, written in here at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if I saw too many Wildstorm. Did you see any Wildstorm woven in?
I honestly, there's not too many that I would recall off the bat anyway, but I don't recall.
Right, but you recognize the milestone character, right? Like they
Yes.
mentioned Icon, right?
Yes.
So I kind of got, you know, I kind of got the idea that yeah, this is obviously a retcon fix of what the history really is. And as I said, you know, I can't even imagine the editors who okayed some of these decisions.
Right.
You know, but some of them just didn't have that forethought, right? As to, you know, regarding how things fit. You know, that's just the way, you know, that's just the way these kind of interconnected serialized stories work. Like then there's not always that that effort to try to tie things together. So, you know, but this is, you know, this is a comic book history that goes back, you know, into, you know, the probably like the late 30s, early 40s, even earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we're talking about some serious history that Wade has put together. You know, like I said, I give him credit for doing his darndest, but it was pretty mind-numbing for me.
Right. So here's my thing on it. Well, because a couple of things. One, Mike. So as Age of 70 said, yeah, editorial had to sign off on the ways some of the stuff has been written out. And from what I saw from the back of the book, it was Wade and I think like one, maybe two other people that kind of did the legwork on trying to put a lot of stuff together. It's like somebody might have already probably had to research a lot of the timeline, and Wade kind of was also in on a part of it, or to kind of get some things on this. But I always say all that to say that this is the first issue, and this is the easy part. I think because it's not going to get crazy, quote unquote, until the next issue, and they start getting into the crisis shit. That's where it's going to go really. Like, yeah, this book has had some stuff in it that was already like, yeah, that's completely silly stuff. That's and whatever. And also, before I forget, I will say that if you've read any of the Grand Design books, like X-Men Grand Design or any of those others, I guess rest in peace to Ed Piscor, I guess, or any of the other ones that came after that. This kind of reads a similar way in those, which I guess makes it a little bit more digestible in a instead of them going, all right, so here's what happened here and everything that happened around that and this and then the other. This is just a beat by beat, just going through the timeline type situation. And like I said, it's not. It doesn't seem like this is the easy part, and the once it starts getting into the crisis and when things start getting juggled and whatnot, that's where we're going to see if this book is going to be worth the paper it's written on. I mean, it's going to happen one way or the other. So, and this is presumably the definitive history that they're chronicling here. So, however they plan to do it from the next 3 issues, you know, is going to be there. And that's not even talking about what we're about to get into in the next book that we're talking about. That seems to be kind of, you know, that's going to be making changes to that. But what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, and the one other thing I was going to mention. So I think this one, so one, there's the narrator for the book is also makes sense because if anyone knows anything about rolling through DC's history, is the character that is the one that's narrating. But also, this one line here may be the one that is telling the tale for this whole book, and it which basically says as quote, he's been involved in crisis events that have at times made history a little malleable. So, and that's pretty much DC's. That's a nice way of saying DC's history right there, because let's face it, this shit's bonkers. But that's a nice way to kind of start this whole thing off. Right? It's like, yeah, like things got a little, things got bent a little bit, but a lot bit in a lot of the cases. But yeah. Also, I do like, shout out to the fact that they mentioned The Losers, which I know was a book before it was a movie, but still, like, I part of me wasn't really expecting to even see them net even a mention. But before we go on, shout out to Von Gloom and shout out to D. Robin's son, nice name, who joins in the chat. Von Gloom says, "Dang it, missed the intro again." It's okay. You only missed us talking about.
No worries.
Yeah, you only missed us talking about Ironheart, and this is the first book, so I know that you like to be here for this kind of stuff anyway. Von Gloom also says the first one is me. Forgot that my kid was using my phone and signed into a different account. Oh, so that was you. Got it. Okay, well, then shout out to you, Von Gloom, for both ways.
Right, and the younger.
Yes, and younger Von Gloom. But yeah, like I said, the book does what it does. At the end, you get footnotes of a lot of stuff, and in a lot of cases is needed. And the next book and the next issue is going to be the one that really, really tells the tale. It is, I guess, not a surprise though that there's a mention of like Sandman in here, but without actually saying the name, because that's Neil Gaiman, and I guess they don't want to touch that at this point because of allegations or whatnot. But they still.
Well, they call him the dream. Yeah, they call it the dreaming. So yeah.
Right. So they bring up that stuff without actually saying too many names, for a reason. So therein lies that you'll probably see, I guess, a little bit more of that going on, because that's just stuff that there's plopping on for this first book. So overall, though, hey, it's a good hustle for a start, because like we've said before, and we will continue to say, DC's history is bonkers, and them trying to actually make a structure to that whole shit is admirable. So that's why that is the interest in this run of this book is going to be for that, to see how they do it, and if they actually do it well. I mean, realistically for us, because I mean, it's safe to say that both of us are probably a little more Marvel folks than DC folks. Like if we talk to our other folks who do a little bit more, DC reading, especially when the next couple of books come out, we'll see how how it feels about that. But like I said, for them even trying to put all this stuff together in a somewhat concise manner is going to be impressive. That being the case, we're going to move on to the next book, which actually continues in the DC corner. Justice League Unlimited number 8.
Justice League Unlimited number 8 is written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora, colors by Tamara Bonvillain, and letters are by Ariana Marr. So this is the last issue in this crossover with the World's Finest book, and lots of last second saves, as here superheroing stories tend to, that's how they tend to develop. We have plenty of multiversal guest appearances that were teased from the last issue and going into this issue, and now it's an all out drag out Slobber Knocker. Shout out to to good old JR if you're a wrestling fan. It's a slobber knocker here, folks. And we resolve a couple of storylines that have been going on since the All-In era of DC started, but we also have an interesting conundrum at the end of this issue because time is all kind of whacked out. It's funny that Roddykat mentioned a couple of things that seemingly kind of crossed over or tied into the new history book, as it were, the new history of the DC universe that we just talked about. And so we get to the end of this Justice League book, and we find out that the next big adventure is going to involve time fixing itself, as it were, or maybe not being able to fix itself. And at the end of the day, probably 1, 2, or more of these characters will find themselves in the current day storylines. So, it's an interesting way to bring in some time lost characters. There are some interesting characters that are brought in here. Everyone from what is that? What is well, I'm not even going to reach for the character that I was thinking of. I'm going to go for the easy character that I recognize right off the bat. Electric Blue. That's all I have to say.
Yes, indeed. So, and we already know, because we've seen articles on this, that at least one of those folks are going to join the Justice League. I assume all of them are going to be involved while they're still here, but one of them is going to reluctantly join the Justice League. So, and I guess now we see how that came about in all of this. And folks, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's a slight spoiler, but whatever, man. We're getting another crisis. The word has been uttered at the end of this book. So, and I say that. Yep. And as I say in my note, oh no, not another crisis. It's like, oh God, no, please no. I thought they were done with that, but no, apparently not. But yeah, it seems like Grodd, I don't know if this the redecorating that Grodd does with the Watchtower is going to be permanent or until whatever this whole situation gets fixed. This book made me want to read the Terrifics again. Actually, at all, because I think I only read like the first issue.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I never did. I need to go back to that book because it seemed like it was interesting. For this and actually another book that I'll talk about later that is related. But and you do see, like, certain characters, you see things start, as I guess they've said for this book, things are going to start reaching out from this book and either starting or crossing over into other books, because we already see where 1 or 2 or 3 possible are going to go into either other books or start a brand new book, as it were. So we shall see how that works out. Von Gloom says, guess it has to mirror the real world since we're almost in a... No. I mean, I don't know, because that would mean that the timing of them plotting this out would be to what's going on right now. And the plotting out for this was done probably 6 months to a year ago at best. Mm-hmm. So if they had that kind of foresight, that's weird and interesting, but also, damn, you should tell us how to fix it if that was the case. So I don't know if I can agree with that, but and that some would always agree we're probably still in a World War III situation, because that stuff's not really dealt with yet. So that's the jury's still out on that. Regardless, though, This, like Agent 7 said, this is the last of that We Are Yesterday crossover, and now we're just getting back into the book proper with whatever shenanigans the Justice League is going to get in from here with what's going on, and whatever freaking crisis comes out of this. May comic gods help us all. And also that was the other reason why I wanted to do this book second, because, like I said, this DC history is being rendered as we speak. But the next book that we are going to be talking about is, Doom Academy, number 5 of 5.
Doom Academy number 505 is written by Mackenzie Cadenhead with art by Pasquale Ferry. Colors are by Edgar Delgado, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowell. So glad to see Pasquale Ferry back on like the main art duties on this book. And you know what else came back with Pasquale Ferry as the main artist on the book?
What's that?
The portraits of Doom on the wall that seemed to be watching all of the kids as they were doing their thing.
Indeed.
Right? And Doom makes a reference during the ending of the book where he says, all these walls are going to have a lot to tell me when this is all said and done. So I kind of got a kick out of that. But with regards to the way the kids kind of resolve to save themselves here, they do their darndest, and Dr. Voodoo gets there just a touch too late. Shout out to Zelma, and it's let's just say it. I'm wondering if this is a way for them to continue the story of the Doom Academy / Strange Academy kids down the road with adventures in the Dark Dimension, as it were. I was thinking that maybe that where their big solve for the stories for the adventure here may end up leading into their next adventure. Which is obviously a well-known way to continue comic book stories. So
my take on it was, they was like, nope, this is somebody else's problem, we'll just shuffle it over there. Now what you said has a lot of merit, because at the end of the book it did say, hey, this is not the end of the story for the kids, just the end of the story. And as we have seen in other situations, like, yeah, the kids come back and have another adventure and then bow back out again, or whatever the case may be, until the next time such as this. So yeah, the kids will be back, definitely, whether it will be for that situation or another totally separate situation, who knows. But like I said, to me, that just kind of read like, it was like, this is gonna be something. This is just gonna be somebody else's problem, as tends to happen sometimes.
Right. What you have to keep in mind is that, at least for now, they've seemed to deem the Strange Academy kids, I guess you could, they've kind of retired the champions, as it were. They're using the new champions, so they really haven't reformed that particular team. But like Tiger Division / Agents of Atlas, they're kind of in the same boat where they revive them for these larger crossovers as like a tie-in with a limited series, and give them some exposure and some reason to tell like a short form story, as opposed to being under the weight of having to provide or at least support through monthly sales and ongoing.
Right.
That seems to be where this group of characters are, where those Agents of Atlas / Tiger Division characters are, where that's the the position they're holding right now in the hierarchy of Marvel characters in terms of sales, in terms of the ability to kind of support ongoing. You could say it's the lack of ability to support an ongoing, or at least how it's perceived to be now.
Right.
So, we're just glad to get something. We wish it was more, but we're glad that it's something.
I mean, as we're about to get to in a few, Kamala technically is also in that situation.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's why I kind of mentioned the champions things with the thing with an asterisk, because to a certain extent they retired that team, but Kamala finds herself in that boat as well.
Right. But yeah, so that's pretty much that. I am curious because at the end of this issue we get somebody talking off panel about one of the people involved or one of the new characters involved specifically, and I'm like, okay, so is that going to be the next story that they're going to do something with? Because it seemed like kind of weird to mention that at all, much less then. But but I guess we'll see with whatever they plan to do with the kids next, and
right, whether it's under the Strange Academy banner or under the Doom Academy banner.
Right, which I suspect is probably going to be back under the Strange Academy because I know, well, we still one world under Doom, but even that is going to end at some point.
Right, and then we'll see how we resolve the whole Doctor Strange aspect of, the whole Sorcerer Supreme aspect of this story as well.
Correct. And actually, and since we mentioned the character, I'm just going to flip a script again and say that our next book is actually going to be Giant Size Age of Apocalypse #1.
All right, Giant Size Age of Apocalypse #1 is written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, with art by C.F. Villa and Rafiq Loureiro, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. That's the first and main story. The second story is written by Jeff Loeb, with art by Simone DeMeo, letters by Richard Starkings, and Comicraft. So this is the latest in these giant size issues that focus upon Kamala tripping through time, as it were, with not the Legion that we recognize, but basically the main aspects of the Legion character without the body of David Haller. And I appreciate the explanation that we get for that here, because it's not technically David Haller, the character of Legion that we are more familiar with. It's an aspect of the character, and I kind of appreciated that more so than ever before, because this is what the third book that this has popped up in now, and now I think 3 issues into this mini event, I appreciate that they gave us this very concise explanation for it. And we find ourselves in the Age of Apocalypse reality. I was reading this, as we were preparing, in the midst of like pre-production tonight. And, there's a couple of scenes here that I found a little bit troubling, but at the end of the day, they ended up working it out. It's Age of Apocalypse. There is a lot of mortality that you run into in that storyline. Let's just say a whole bunch of people get got, and in this issue, a bunch of people get got as well. And you kind of understand why one character approaches Legion and Ms. Marvel the way they do, but kind of overreacting to the point where you're like, well, how does she know they're going to be able to survive that particular hit? I don't know. but ultimately, this is just another step down memory lane for Kamala Khan, and now we're getting further into more recent history, as teased for the next installment of this series of giant-sized books.
Von Gloom says they retconned the Infinites. They were genetically engineered fodder. They weren't people brainwashed into fodder, which brings up a point that I assume if that art is to be believed, we find out what happened to this world's version of Kamala, who was inserted in there because of that. Also, the way, and this is a nitpick, I don't know why I'm doing this, but this is a nitpick on the way a certain action in a panel was drawn. I'm like, that's not how a person tears up in that particular position, but let that go. Let that go. But it did kind of was like I stuck on that for like 2 seconds. Also, outside of that, as I say in my notes, Kamala should know not to ask certain questions because she messed around and found out, kind of. As Agent 70 pointed out as he was reading it, destiny being destiny.
Oh yeah.
We get the sudden but inevitable betrayal, which, you know, sure, it was going to happen. And as Agent 70 also said, we go on to the next big event, which is has to do with some house. I don't know, somebody's house. Which also, and I said this before, and I need to actually read Age of Apocalypse, because I don't think I'm almost fairly certain I never have. Maybe read books out of that for some odd reason, but or at least tied to it.
Listen, that was the mid-90s. I barely remember that.
And I was definitely I was barely reading anything outside of like maybe an Avengers book or something, but or trade waiting at the time, because it wasn't, you know, because I was in school and had other shit to do. But
listen, that was a time when all of the X books went on hiatus and were replaced by Age of Apocalypse versions of each of those X books.
So I heard.
And that made for an interesting time for collecting. And, you know, if you're in for a penny like me, you were probably in for a pound. And I collected all of them. So well, not all of them, but most of them are at least the major ones. So I definitely have the vast majority of those Age of Apocalypse miniseries, because that's eventually what you learned that they were going to be. You know, like when they announced it, it was, you know, quote unquote an event that had no fixed ending, but then as solicitations came to pass, and you got to see what the announcements were for the return from Age of Apocalypse, you got to see how these essentially were, I want to say, like 5-issue limited series. Maybe they were 4-issue limited series. So we're talking like a 4 to 5 month publishing plan, right? That were all that made all of these X books, Age of Apocalypse X books.
On hindsight, it was a perfect time to trade weight. Personally. Because for me, that made it easier to kind of get all of that in one place as opposed to getting separate issues.
I think this was even before things were being collected more often than regularly.
No, I'm pretty sure. Well, you sure?
In trades?
Yeah, because I feel like
I think this was before or right before.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. But it's like I feel like maybe it was after that point when it was the one that was getting traded. But I do remember getting some trades of some stuff. Now I don't think it was any of that stuff though, but things around that time. But that being said, Von Gloom says I dug the space one with Gambit and Sunspot. I guess you mean the miniseries at the time. Like I said, at some point I'm going to. This was yet another one we were going to do as an evergreen show that we never got around to. I think it's probably still on.
That's a lot of reading because it's a lot of miniseries.
Yeah, and I think we would have probably have just like stuck to the core unless we did a separate one that did some of the other ones or something. Because I think some of the choices we had made with some of those, like we definitely weren't going to get to all the side stuff. Like just either stuck to the core or whatever the case may be. So, and that probably would have been the case here. I'm not sure how many issues the main stuff was, unless it was like something that really tied to. But that's kind of hard to,
Yeah, I think the Gambit one was Gambit and the Externals, but that's just me riffing off the top of my head. Or I would just have to consult our favorite tool, not a sponsor.
Or
and double check on
Von
that.
Gloom actually said the exact same thing. As soon as you said it, he said the exact same thing.
Oh, the Externals, got it.
Yeah, Gambit and the Externals. So y'all were all in lockstep on that one. That being said, the backstory or whatever, because the second story in this Giant Size was basically, is of the same world and had to do with two characters who eternally have beef with each other, but is also leading into what seemed to be them going back to the well in a version of that world. Or I guess at a different time in that world, possibly. As I was telling Agent 70 before the show. Like I said, I am not familiar with the whole goings on Agent of Apocalypse, so I'm not entirely sure. But like I said, everything I just said about those, especially with those two characters, pretty much stay the same. So therein lies that. And yeah, like I said, we get to the next one when the next book hits, which I have slightly more familiarity with, but not by much. On that note, we're going to push on to our next book, which I wish I had the soundbite here from MOP. But First Family, Fantastic Four, number 33, which is the last issue of this book, if I'm not mistaken.
This volume, at least.
Yes.
Fantastic Four, number 33, is written by Ryan North with pencils by Corey Smith, colors by Jesus Abertov, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this was a nice way to wrap up this particular volume because it does bring things back to kind of the status, it does restore the status quo to a point, because we're still living in a world, in one world under doom, but they're able to find a cure, or at least a workaround. That's probably the best way to put it. They are able to figure out a workaround to the latest episode of the FF for losing their powers, and leave it to Valeria to figure it out. There is a kind of interesting side effect of how they do it, because it leads us to a story that highlights one H.E.R.B.I.E. I forget the acronym and how they and how they break down the letters of H.E.R.B.I.E, but I appreciated this for giving H.E.R.B.I.E a little bit of a spotlight in advance of his guest starring role in the upcoming film. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat with that.
That's mean to my guest starring. No, he is an integral part of the whole film. We don't know that, but Von Gloom says goodbye, Dirk Diggler Johnny. Hey, we don't know if the mustache is not coming back in the next volume. So we don't know that for certain. Von Gloom also says, guess they're ignoring Weapon X becoming the next Apocalypse. I don't know, because the last thing that was said on that second story was like something about in a world without Apocalypse, and what is this wrinkled or something or other. So I'm not entirely sure what that could possibly mean. So, but Fantastic Four number 33 though, potential click of the week for myself. And yes, like Agent 70 said, just in time for the movie, H.E.R.B.I.E kind of gets a little bit of shine in the but part of me was like, this is kind of telegraphed, because it was like, okay, if they're starting off with him, then clearly there's going to be a centric story. That's one thing. But as it kept going, and as the plan started getting thought about, it was like, oh, so something bad's going to happen. Something not good is going to happen, and technically does, but because of the way but also not really, because they do a thing to H.E.R.B.I.E, and they set him a certain way, and then they basically take that away during the course of this story. while also, basically putting some blocks back together or bricks back together, as it were, in this. So now that we got all of that back together, we can start the new volume all fresh and kind of clean, and with whatever they're going to do. Wait, when does I know we know when that next volume comes. Is it September or August?
After One World of Doom, I presume.
Right, but I can't remember, because it's definitely going to be after the movie. But I'm still thinking they might. I feel like there's probably going to be some sort of tie, not necessarily direct, but because they still might be playing with that after the fact. I don't know.
Right. I'm gonna presume that One World Under Doom is going to be the main place that we see the FF
For now,
and the this number one is a fresh start, in a new direction.
Yeah, which makes total sense. So, but like it was a decent enough send off for this volume, of the and of course, like I said, tying to the movie was going to be a thing, one way, shape, or form. So there you go. We are going to go into the next book that we have in common. Another potential click of the week, actually. The Vision and Scarlet Witch, number 2 of 5.
All right, Vision and the Scarlet Witch, number 2 of 5 is written by Steve Orlando with art by Lorenzo Tometa, colors by Ruth Redmond, and letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. So yeah, this is actually probably going to be my click of the week this week, because I was pleasantly surprised by the story, but especially by the art. I kind of glossed over the first issue of this book. I don't recall why. It might have been a very busy week and I just didn't have time to fit the first issue of this story in. But when I gave myself the opportunity today, prior to the show, and during pre-production, kind of squeezing in the first issue as well as this week's issue, I was more than pleasantly surprised by the art on this book. It's very well done, and I have not yet had time to look up where Lorenzo Tometa has done other work, but it's very sharp, it's very polished, and I'm looking forward to this artist getting more work, getting coming their way going down the line. So as far as the story, I like the tie-ins with the 2015 Vision series, the Tom King Vision series.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not spoiling what's revealed in this issue because it's kind of a shock, and we're going down some of the paths that were developed in that Vision miniseries, but also developed in the Valkyrie series, which I was very surprised to see. I'm like, wait a second, I read that book. I do not remember any of this stuff happening with with the Grim Reaper. So kudos to editorial for putting in those editorial notes.
Right, and or Steve Orlando for suggesting, I guess, and or for bringing them out.
Right.
Also, No Road Home reference, Avengers No Road Home, which I totally mostly forgot pretty much everything about. Also is referenced here, and the House of Ideas, which is also referenced in, I think, Loki or something. Not Loki the show, but Loki, one of the Loki books or something. But yeah, that's funny. But yeah, it's curious if the character we see at the end of this issue is going to stick around, or is just this. Or
I was about to say, or what it could be, right? Where's my whatchamacallit? Oh, that would explain why I don't see it. You know what it could be, right? Where are you, Admiral Akbar? Because that's what it always is.
I didn't hear it if you played it, but yeah.
No, there it is. I found it.
It's a trap!
There we go. Yeah, actually, that sound effect's probably gonna come up one other time or one two other times later on. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on that because it's like, but at the same time, yeah, this would be a reason that they would. I don't think personally. I think the character served its purpose in the Vision miniseries, and the other character that is has continued from them is probably the best fit to continue on from this, and not this one. But that's just me. You know, they could do something with that. You know, but like I said, we don't know if this is going to be a quote unquote permanent thing, or whether this is just for story purposes and or a trap. So we will find out as this miniseries goes on. And I think the next book is the last book that we have in common, which, you know, sometimes you got to go out with a banger. Ultimate Spider-Man number 18.
Ultimate Spider-Man number 18 is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Marco Cacchetto, colors by Eric Arciniega, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. This is another book that is a potential click of the week for me. You know, at least from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
We have another instance of me yelling at a teenage hero, "What are you doing?"
And I, along with you on this particular point, but at the same time, yeah, I get it.
They're like, "What are you doing?" But you know, like I said, you sometimes have to chalk it up to dumb kids making dumb mistakes, right? No matter how smart they are otherwise. So you know, we have a version of a black cat always going to be black catting, and you know, they even come out and admit that. And again, as Roddykat mentioned,
It's a trap!
so we have Spidey and the Green Goblin kind of coming back together, as it were, after you know, one of them was thought to be dead, and the Mysterios seem to be working things out for themselves using some Dr. Octopus language to boot. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat with that one because the die is cast.
Basically. Yes, and speaking of Otto, his home, that part with his quote unquote home invasion was kind of amusing in itself. Also, I'll point to what Von Gloom says in the chat real quick. Never trust a girl in black leather. Every teenage boy must learn this lesson. I don't think that must. I mean, I must have missed out because I didn't catch that until later. But dumb kids making dumb.
Oh yes,
making.
I agree with that one.
Okay, so Von Gloom, yeah. So you missed that. So Agent 70 agrees with your assessment on that, and that's why he's particularly said that. By the way, so
right, that's why I tied it all back together.
Yeah, so we wasn't being slick by saying that, but so yes, y'all are in agreement on that one, but you know, you have to go back and say I'm not gonna rehash what I said then. I mean, I'm also kind of in agreement in that, but there's more to it that put it that way. Either way, Ultimate Spider-Man number 18. So yeah, we get a little bit more with Gwen and the Mysterios. Apparently they're about to go do some things. We get the reunion, and you know, we kind of get another kind of reunion because like pretty much most of the folks are meeting up in one spot before Peter and Harry do a thing like Agent 70 was alluding to. Yeah, you know. As I say in my notes, go off of another thing Agent 70 said, Felicia is a constant in this world as well. So yeah, like he said, Black Cat be Black Cat, and that's pretty much was the case. Like, yeah, I don't think there's a world. Matter of fact, I feel like that's been mentioned before. Like, I don't think there's a world where Felicia's not going to be that much different than what she is. There probably was one, but I don't know. And yeah, I mean, and also to be fair to Richard, it was Felicia. So come on, like father, like son in another universe. Or like son, like father. Well, like father, like son. But you know what I'm saying. You know, those Hardys, you know, they just get it. I guess. But yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man, always a treat. You know, we always say that when this book comes up, and it continues to be the case, and honestly, you know, said to be the case. So, how things are going to turn out, you know, with what happens with a character and what they got themselves into, we shall see. We shall see. And with that, we're going to go into rapid fire. I was going to say, actually, hold on for a second before we actually do that. Yeah, that'll give me just enough time. So I just am going to start off with rapid fire while I go run and do a thing real quick.
All righty. I am going to start our rapid fire review section.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Spin up the old minigun. So, Absolute Wonder Woman number 9 is written by Kelly Thompson with art by Hayden Sherman, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Becca Carey. This book is consistently the best Absolute book that DC is putting out, although I have to admit that Absolute Martian Manhunter and Absolute Flash, I really haven't had a chance to dive that deep into either of those. I've heard good things, but in terms of the Absolute books that I have been reading so far, Absolute Wonder Woman continues to be the strongest, and this issue continues that trend. It definitely ends on a somewhat weaker note because it is an obvious to be continued here at the end of this issue, but you know, otherwise, from start to finish, Absolute Wonder Woman continues to be one of the strongest books that are on the stands, that are in your local comic shop every month. Next up for me is since we had a lot of books in common this week, I only have a few books left for rapid fire review, and my only other book, believe it or not, is Uncanny X-Men number 16. Uncanny X-Men number 16 is written by Gail Simone with art by David Marquez and Luciano Vecchio. Colors are by Matthew Wilson and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. So, interestingly, I think that you needed to read something on social media that Gail Simone posted about this particular story arc before reading this book, because it puts things into a deeper context. And once you read that, and it's about some of I guess the context, the greater context and the real world context, that you would be reading this kind of journey down retcon Marvel history lane involving mutants and their history in the bayou, as it were, in the Louisiana area and the area just beyond New Orleans, which is basically, you know, old school Cajun country, as it were, and you know, dealing with some of the real world history that Simone is tying into this particular retcon, and how that all fits into the story of mutants in the Marvel universe. So this actually ended up being a pretty strong story, and it helps to solidify these characters, these upstart, the outliers, I think they're called, who were in this Uncanny book. The new characters that are introduced as the latest quote unquote new mutants for this era of you know, kind of post Krakoan X-Men. You know, each, you know, the Exceptional X-Men book has a bunch. The X-Men, the adjectiveless X-Men book has a few, you know, especially because of that 3K group. And now the Uncanny group has this group of 4 who have been introduced as as New Mutants for this group of X-Men to teach and to mentor. So this is actually, believe it or not, another candidate for Click of the Week, but I think I have an idea what my clear-cut favorite is on that. And that's it for me.
Okay, I'm not sure. Well, you'll have to point me to the thing that she said, because I just saw. I don't and whether was it on Blue Sky or was it on Twitter?
I have to double check.
Okay, yeah, because I just saw something she said on Blue Sky about the book, but that's just about the fact that it was out and something else about it, but nothing, I guess, specific. Well, something kind of specific, but anyway, Von Gloom says another Richard, talking about Ultimate Spider-Man 18, another Richard who was misled by the wrong head.
Oh no.
And I guess this was about Absolute Wonder Woman. Too bad it's ending soon, according to the rumors. Well, rumors.
Really?
Rumors. Well, again, I haven't seen those rumors, so I don't know. But I don't know. Also, he says, couldn't agree with you more. Absolute Diana stands above her peers. Excuse me. And eventually they will reveal that Beyonce is a mutant since her family are from these parts.
Ah.
Jeez. But with that, I do have a good load of books to go through myself. So let me go ahead and kick this off. Let me find the cover first. First book for me is Defenders of the Earth, number 8 of 8. Written by, written by Dan DiDio, with art by Jay Calafiore, colors by Wancho, and letters by Carlos M. Mangual. So yeah, this is the last issue of this particular story, and it seems like it's going to the Defenders are going to come back with another story if the end of the book is any indication. But they basically wrap up. Oh yeah, I did see. Well, I think I know what you're talking about, Von Gloom, because yeah, I did see. I saw rumors of something about the Ultimate line. Well, the what I saw about the Ultimate line was that the books are going to go to 24, or was I thinking of the Energon user for one of those two? Either way, I saw some rumblings of that, but nothing as official or concrete. Anyway, but yeah, so Flash and the gang are holding down two fronts. Flash and his kid are trying to take it to the bad guy, while the other defenders of the Earth try to hold the line at the Seven Nations. Seemingly a one-off point that kept coming up during the course of the story comes basically back to save the day, thanks to Mandrake, the magician, which I guess we should have saw that, but we did not. Or didn't leave paying attention to it, I guess. And the possible next storyline might have something to do with Flash Gordon's mate, who in the story was all AI, but could possibly be actually alive. And again, the Defenders may be, new adventures taking the fight to a planet known in this universe that the particular character is known to be associated with. So therein lies that. Next up, another final book of a crossover, DC times Sonic the Hedgehog, or DC Sonic the Hedgehog, is however you want to say it. Number 4, actually it's not the last book, excuse me, it's one more after this. But this is number 4 of 5, written by Ian Flynn, art by Adam Bryce Thomas, colors by Matt Herms, and letters by Becca Carey. So you remember last issue when we saw the view from Sonic's crew, who ended up being yeeted to the DC universe, and them helping out there since the Justice League wasn't around, where we get the other side of that, and we see what happened to the Justice League after yeeting Sonic and crew to the DCU, and see them on, what they get into on Sonic's world. Apparently a couple of the characters really, really like Loop the Loops. One you would expect, the other one you would not have expected. I put it to you that way. But they help out, and a bunch of other Sonic side characters end up playing parts one way, shape, or form, including, yes, Dr. Eggman, who pops back in the book in a not so great situation for him. All said and done, but he tried it. The words "he wrecked my battleship" also were said in here. It was like, we're not going to tie in a board game here, but they did it. Jon Stewart discovers Sonic Colors. If you know that video game, then you possibly know what I'm talking about there. And yeah, things tend to come together at the end, which means that everyone's going to be back together for the last hurrah, and we will see how that works out. Also, a couple of Darkseid peoples that I didn't know anything about apparently show up in this, and then I don't know who they were, but I was like, okay, sure, therein lies that. But next up, let's see. Next up is Mr. Terrific, Year 1, number 2 of 5. Excuse me, 2 of 6. My apologies. Sketched by Al Letson, art by Valentin Delandro and Edwin Gallman, colors by Marissa Louise and Edwin Gallman, and letters. If I didn't say colors, I meant colors, but letters by Lucas Gaetani and colors by Marissa Louise and Edwin Gallman. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know a whole lot about the character of Mr. Terrific, because I don't fully. What I did not know as I was reading this book was that I did know that this was a technically a legacy character, because there was a Mr. Terrific before this one. And they kind of get into that in this story. In fact, this story seems to source back to the first appearance of the Michael Holt version of Mr. Terrific in the pages of this, Spectre, which that part I did not know, but I think there's a couple of pages and or whatnot that are directly sourced from that book, but I don't know because I hadn't read it, and I don't have DC Unlimited to check that out, or I didn't want to do the trial yet to go and check that out. But I did put the source link to the source in my notes, so if you wanted to check that out for yourself, or if you might already know about it, hey, there you go. But this Year 1 thing for Mr. Terrific starts off in the present as he's investigating something that has something tangibly to do with Darkseid and some invention that he made back in the day, but then it goes into the past, where he's kind of at a low point of his life and before he becomes Mr. Terrific, but we are seeing the steps of him starting to become that, possibly even including the jacket. And he's also, we also see a cameo with Black Lightning in here, as they were friends at the time, which I don't know was a thing prior to this or not, but therein lies that. So yeah, continued, and and like I said, others Darkseid leaning things with the person who is kind of behind things in the past also kind of crop up here. So Darkseid is, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have Void Rivals number 20, which is written by Robert Kirkman. I'm sure we will hear that name again later on in the news. With art by Connor Hughes, colors by Patricio Del Pesce, and letters by Russ Wooten. So, Derek and his father, who happens to be the king or whatever over their peoples, they were having a sort of talk when the other main character, Solilla, kind of happens to pop in with her newfound powers after being anointed, and it causes a ruckus, and that ruckus continues in this issue. Apparently, Derek's trying to played Peacemaker, and his, but well, and Salilla and his dad was like not hearing it one way or the other, so that kind of puts him in a position. Meanwhile, our Skunkzoid friend is kind of having problems of his own, with his own people his newfound people that he's just found out about. We get a little bit more on that Cobra Law soldier that is still on Junkion. So, and with the Junkions, so we kind of get a little bit of a checkup on that stuff. The only ones that we don't really get a checkup on are Hot Rod and Springer, who are still trapped in the whatever the planet that Derek and them are on. But also, another wrinkle might be coming into play that the person who, or the Cybertronia who sent Solula to do what she's doing, may have sent somebody else that might also put a wrinkle in things, possibly. But we shall see how that plays out going forward. Let's see. And my last book before I get to the comments in the chat. The Thing, number 2 of 5. Is my last book. Bing. Written by Tony Kliqs, art by Justin Mason, color artist Alex Sinclair, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So, yeah, this is still a story of Benji helping out his old bully, because they came to him with a cry for help, whatever the case may be. This old bully seems to want to keep rehashing a certain old times that Ben doesn't want to, probably rightly so, but they're also at two different stages currently when this story takes place. So if Ben could probably squash it very easily if he wanted to, but that would be not good. But this whole thing kind of sends him up against some folks, who don't want Ben to be sniffing around things. So that's why. That's why you send people like Bullseye after the Thing, which, on paper doesn't really make any sense, but kind of sort of works out in this story the way it was going to. But yeah, like I said, this whole story kind of keeps going, and as I say in my notes, distraction gets a distraction at the end of this. So what caused the distraction for the distraction, not entirely sure, but as Ben and his not quite friend get a little bit closer to who they're trying to find and what's going on, we'll see what happens. And that is it for my books. Before we get to Kliqs of the week, let me get these couple of things out of the way. Let's see. The Ultimate Line is ending soon. I think I said that one already. According to an interview with Peach Momoko's translator. Yeah, I don't know. I need a little bit more official than that. But I mean, I'm sure there is some definite insight on that with some stuff that I have actually seen on those lines. But and to answer Von Gloom's question, I'm going to say yes to that, but I'm not going to bring it up until we get to that news story. So we'll wait on that when we get to that. But let's get to Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So you're still sticking to the one you mentioned?
Yeah, I have a couple of good books out this week. Again, Absolute Wonder Woman #9, Vision and the Scarlet Witch #2 of 5, Ultimate Spider-Man #18, and Uncanny, believe it or not, Uncanny X-Men #16. That jumped up into my top contenders, but I'm gonna stick with Vision and the Scarlet Witch #2 of 5 as my Kliq of the week this week.
Oh, holy shit. And I totally forgot a book that I read. So now I'm going to have to backtrack. So, yeah.
Oh, you forgot to add something to your list?
No, there was it's on my list and I just forgot to talk about it, actually. So,
Oh,
my actual last book, that's my fault, folks. I totally forgot I filled up my sheet. VR Troopers #1. We are VR, folks. If you didn't know that. Written by Marguerite Scott, illustrated by Sebastian Perez, colors by J.P. Jordan, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So you may, if want to check out recent issues of Power Rangers Prime before you read this, because this pretty much came out of that. I'm not sure if it's like a real big tie, but that's where the VR Troopers showed up prior to this book being launched. So that is a thing if you're interested in. And also, you would probably be slightly confused by the fact that, well, one, hey, why are they in Angel Grove? For one thing, why is the Eltarian Empire a thing and has Earth as a colony? Well, I believe that is also a part of Power Rangers Prime, which is only like 7 or 8 or 9 issues in or something like that. So it's still pretty early on that goes in all of that stuff. But yeah, so we do have our if you remember the show, you have your 3 VR troopers, and they are all still represented here in a slightly new light because of the things that I just mentioned. There is some okay. The multiverse gets mentioned in here as well. Something that might be possibly coming out of the last volume of Power Rangers, maybe a thing, but also, if you remember the story from the show VR Troopers, the main character started off the show actually talking about his dad, and that's kind of gets brought up here because I think he was still trying to find him or something or like that, and I don't, as far as I know, they never did, or maybe if they did, I don't remember that much of the show, if that's the case, but that gets brought up here, and that might have something to do with a mysterious stranger that shows up during the course of this, who somehow can tap into the trooper powers. I said Ranger powers because it's pure Power Rangers, but it's the same difference. So I suspect that mysterious person is probably the dad he is seeking. Who knows? If that's the case, that's sad. That is that's if we called it that soon. But no Dr. Hart also, if you remember the show, because there was a Dr. Hart who was basically the Zordon of that show. In place, they have another alien that's, I guess, kind of taking that place, but they're actually in a physical form and not a head on a screen. So go figure. But yeah, so things are doing for the VR troopers in this reality. So, and apparently there are some things that were being kept from them, which is also starting them on a let's find out what's going on situation. So we shall see what happens with that. And that is the end of the books for me. And I will go back into the Kliqs of the week by saying that VR Troopers is actually kind of one of them, or one of my potentials. Vision and Scarlet Witch also a potential, because that was a good book, great art. Ultimate Spider-Man is always a good one. And I believe I said, what was the other one? Oh, Fantastic Four was the other one that I said as a potential. There is a part of me, and I'm not going to do it. There's a part of me that kind of wants to put that new history of DC Universe #1 in the running, but we're not there yet. Because... like I said, I need to see when DC's history gets bonkers and they start talking about it. That's when I want to see if they're going to do any, if they're going to do a good job with, or a job with at all, So because that's when shit's going to really, really be important to see. DCX Sonic the Hedgehog is a treat. Is #4 is a treat also. So that's but it's not necessarily going to make the cut, but it's still. That was a fun read. Actually, I might have to recant that one. So really, really quick. Do, 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 do. Yeah. Doom Academy is also always good, but like I said, I know that one's probably not gonna. Okay. You know what? F it. DC Sonic the Hedgehog number 4 or 5. That was fun. And that'll be my click of the week. But definitely shout out to some of the other ones, including VR Troopers and Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Okay.
For the things. Before we get into the news section, Von Gloom says, "Hope Weird Al voiced the Junkion leader in the rumored." Yeah, again, we'll get to that in a moment. But let's get an ad read.
Alrighty, our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as their custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Cinematic news as we do about this time. We're going to blast through some of these, so because some are more important to talk about than others, and also it's getting late. James Gunn responds to the Snyderverse fans planning to review bomb Superman. "I think we'll survive," is his quote, and I quite agree. Screw those folks. Next up.
Alrighty. Batman Caped Crusader Season 2 includes a J.M. DeMatteis penned episode. So it's been 10 months since we last checked in on how things were looking with the second season of Bruce Timm's Batman Caped Crusader. So let's see here. Now we've gotten a quick heads up from writer J.M. DeMatteis to let folks know that he's penned a season 2 episode. Okay. So this is that series that made it over onto Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
So the second season of Amazon's Batman Caped Crusader is coming soon. Which is good. There is not an announcement yet.
Yeah, no, not yet. So this is pretty much all we got so far. Which is good. That show was actually pretty good. Enjoyed it. So I'm glad to see that we got some sort of an update. And I thank you because I had a song in my head, and that's it was about to come out, and I'm glad it didn't. Yes, that cartoon got a second season. But Ironheart EP Ryan Coogler star Dominic Thorne teases show's connection to Marvel's Avengers Doomsday. Quote, "Great sample of things to come." Let's see. Says, though Ironheart executive producer Ryan Coogler wasn't initially thinking of a spin-off series for Riri Williams. Dominic Thorne's Riri Williams, first introduced it. Y'all know where she came from. Once Marvel's team approached him about it, the character's future in the MCU was set in stone. Quote, "No, I like to take things one step at a time," Coogler told Deadline on the red carpet of the premiere for Ironheart. Let's see. So the Senator's Helmer said that the character of Riri first came about as a, quote, foil to Shuri, someone who could showcase her growth as she filled a mentor and big sister role. It wasn't until the creative team was, quote, down the road on the film that he was approached by fellow Ironheart executive producers Brad Winderbaum and Zoe Negahalt about the show. So it was obviously complicated, wanting to make sure that we were leaving enough room while establishing who Riri was, but it's been so exciting. And the article kind of goes on from there, so that's cool. And there's also a couple more quotes from Mr. Kugler, but we'll leave those for you to check out in the article. Next up.
Jack Betts, the debonair character actor who starred in spaghetti westerns, played Dracula for a fleeting moment on Broadway, and appeared in such notable films as Spider-Man and Gods and Monsters, has died. He was 96. He died Thursday in his sleep at home in Los Osos, California, as reported by The Hollywood Reporter. Let's see. So he was in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, who played Henry Balkin, who told Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn that he's through at Oscorp Technologies. You're out, Norman. Okay.
You're fired. And that's RoboCop, but that's not. But that's what made me think about that.
Gotcha.
Next up, though. Oh, rest in peace, by the way. John Bernthal joins Tom Holland in Spider-Man Brand New Day, apparently. I don't know how to feel about this. But yeah, apparently, let's see. The movie will shoot in England this summer and has a July 31st, 2026 release date. Much of the movies remains shrouded in mystery, like Mysterio. Movie rumor websites have listed upwards of a dozen possible villains, from crime bosses to alien symbiotes, who could appear in the future, as well as a couple of different versions of the Hulk. The only thing that is clear at this stage is that Zendaya and Jacob Batalon are reprising their roles as MJ and his best friend Ned. Although how substantial those roles will be remains unclear. They talk about Sadie Singh brought in also, and it kind of goes on from there. That's, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how to feel about that. Like, why?
It'll be interesting because it'll be the Punisher's first interaction with another character outside of Daredevil.
Sure. I mean, and we do know Spider-Man and the Punisher has had, some things together in comic books, but maybe I don't know enough about Brand New Day to where, I mean, not saying that it's going to go beat for beat, but was he even a part of that?
It's not, we both know that these Marvel stories, especially, the ones that take from actual, Marvel events, hardly ever take anything more than the name itself. So
I know, but it's still weird. Either way, next up.
Alrighty, so the cast of Avengers Doomsday is working together to brush up on the MCU's characters and history, as revealed by Pedro Pascal, letting folks know that he had to go to Robert Downey Jr.'s house for an Avengers quote homework day. I mean, look at that. Look at Reed, having to bone up on MCU history.
Yeah, before you come,
right?
you gotta know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, so according to a new interview, he told Vanity Fair about this homework day, presumably involving brushing up on the continuity of the characters, their relationships, and their already established adventures.
Yeah. Also reminds me, there was a Robert Downey Jr. had did a video call or something to Dominic Thorne about Ironheart, and that was a nice little moment that they had, from what I saw or heard. So, but yeah, I would love to be a fly on the wall for that. Honestly, for this, not for the homework day thing, not the not the Ironheart thing. Although that too, but still, that's out there on some video. But anyway, next up, Pink, come on. Mahershala Ali still wants to film Blade. He quotes, "Call Marvel, let them know I'm ready," as he said when he was on some red carpet. What was this? Let's see.
For Jurassic Park, probably, or Jurassic World.
Yes, that is actually true. Yes. The New York premiere of Jurassic World Rebirth. The actor kept his answer brief when asked when Blade production could start, and he says, "I'm ready. Let them know I'm ready," and says, "Call Marvel." Basically, and he actually said "Call Marvel" because you saw that on video. So there you go. Next up.
Alrighty. This is oh, I gotta pull out the right sound effect here. This is just gossip, folks. The gossip is that Robert Kirkman and Skybound have sold the Transformers / G.I. Joe / Void Rivals Energon Universe animated streaming series. So the show will be based on the hit Energon Universe comic books, now being published through Image Comics. And we're gonna probably get announcements expected at San Diego Comic-Con, with the series promising shocking developments. You mean lots of bodies? Because that's essentially what we're getting in these in these series, is that we're getting lots and lots of bodies hitting the floor.
I mean, if it
You know what I'm
goes away with
saying?
Invincible, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If only we knew somebody who possibly has some insight into this. We don't know anybody like that, but I guess we'll find out more at San Diego, one way or another, if it happens or not.
Right.
Next up, this is for the younger folks, so you're welcome, I guess. Toonami's fan favorite mecha anime tribute was almost brought back until WBD's new CEO killed it, and Q Von Gloom saying, "Damn you, Zaslav." So yeah, apparently the show, well, according to the YouTube channel Secret Galaxy, aka formerly known as Toy Galaxy, who uploaded a video paying tribute to Megas XLR, which is the show in question, Cartoon Network's loving anime mecha parody from the early 2000s. The series, created by Jody Schaefer and George Christic, ran for 2 seasons on Toonami. They said low ratings due to the demise, sounds like, which led the show to be written off as a tax loss, according to a quote from Christic in a 2014 interview. Let's see. However, according to one of its co-creators, Megas XLR was on the verge of a revival until Zaslav stepped in. So there you go. And there's in the comic section of that YouTube video that I talked about that I hadn't watched yet. Yeah, therein, like it says, fun fact: due to an international sales and iTunes, Megas made its money back. He said, "Oh, this is Schaefer, one of the co-creators. We got greenlit for a reboot a few years ago. Then David Zaslav took over WB and shut the whole thing down again. Wait, that fact isn't fun at all, because it was." Fun fact. So, Von Gloom says, "Rip B and Rock," and of course, "Damn you, Zaslav," as he tends to say. We might need a soundbite from you saying that. I don't know, but either way, Next up.
All right, as reported by Deadline, Kalina Liang has joined the legendary Street Fighter movie as Chun-Li. Reps for Legendary declined to comment. The film's plot remains under wraps. Let's see here. Liang joins a cast that includes the previously announced Andrew Koji, Noah Centineo, Jason Momoa, Roman Reigns, and Orville Peck. Bad Trips Kitao Sakurai is the movie's director.
Yes, but it gets better and or worse, because it looks like 50 Cent will play Balrog in the 50 Cent in the Street Fighter movie. I love the Byline Club to death. That's funny. So yeah, it seemed reportedly. So I'm still treating this as a rumor, because I don't know who this place is that is reporting it. Said that that he was in talks to play Balrog, and I think I saw something earlier about it might actually be, there might actually be something to it. 50 Cent posted some stuff. I really don't care. Yeah, folks, 50 Cent might be Whenever you want to do it, sir, you send it to me. Send me the soundbite. We'll get it squared. So, but yeah, that's that. Enough of that. Next up, technically anime corner. So get it.
Gotcha. I was actually just looking at a little bit of news that dropped yesterday about the Punisher Disney Plus special.
Oh,
so
send it to me. We'll do it for next week.
Okay, so you're saving it. No worries.
Yeah.
All right, so anime corner it is. Oops. Got a little trigger happy. I was moving over one button and hit the other. Netflix's One Piece. Joe Manganiello teases Crocodile's debut. He says it's awesome. Well, of course he would.
Yeah, he's
so
nerd.
One Piece is now in the works on season 2 of the live action series coming to Netflix next year. And Joe Manganiello has dropped another big tease about his debut in the series as Mr. O, otherwise known as the Deadly Sir Crocodile. Okay.
Yeah. It continues to be funny how big a nerd that Joe Mang and like Cavill are.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me. But hey, these are the times. Gotta love it. I don't know. One Piece. It's a thing. Von Gloom says Street Fighter sounds like a mess with 50 Cent as Balrog and Andrew Schultz. Andrew Schultz is Dan? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. For every step, there's 2 steps backwards. Next up, though, Devil May Cry Season 2 will be, quote, very different, according to Adi Shankar. So, yeah, Devil May Cry was renewed for another season. I still haven't seen the first one, and part of me is kind of resistant to watching it for reasons because of the trailer. I don't know why. But news, let's see, it says new episodes may be a long way off. Regardless, producer and showrunner Adi Shankar already has some thoughts on where Devil May Cry is going to go in the upcoming season. Quote, as he says on X, that Dante levels up, his skills improve, and you'll see him embrace more of the iconic badassery fans of the game expect. That said, I'm still telling a story, and great characters don't just win, they grow. What makes Dante compelling, isn't that he's unstoppable, it's that he learns and keeps getting stronger. Not quite right, because he just keeps growing, you're right, but he rarely ever learns, that I remember from those things. But hey, there you go. Next up.
Let's see here. Solo Leveling Season 3 gets an unfortunate production update. Crunchyroll had unfortunate news for Solo Leveling fans, eagerly awaiting the next chapter of Sung Jin Woo's story. Let's see here. Right. So near the end of an interview, 2 of the creators were asked if they were able to give an update on the status of Solo Leveling Season 3. Unfortunately, Kaneko responded his position does not allow him to confirm Season 3 in front of the media.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
I mean, that's a nice soundbite. More people should actually use that
Sure.
one. But hey, sure.
Sure. I mean, it'll give me some time to catch up on this.
Yeah, no, same. Next up, though, we get into comic book news.
Alrighty.
Adi played a different game. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Sorry, hit that again. Yeah, still kind of cut out, but whatever. Marvel and DC and more commit to Neon Ichiban, a brand new comics and manga digital platform. So this was announced via a press release from Distillery, which, man, I hadn't heard too much of them, but we don't get their books. A whole host of industry's top publishers are prepared to lend their expansive catalogs to the newest digital platform, Neon Ichiban. The new platform will serve as a one-stop shop for comic book and manga fans around the globe, and is set to be home to a host of features that digital comics and manga readers have never seen before. Yeah, well, we've heard that one before as well. One of the biggest features that Neon Ichiban offers is digital signatures and remarks. I don't know. Which can be collected, traded, and bought. And sold by readers and collectors on the platform's in-house secondary marketplace. Here we go. All while maintaining their original digital provenance. So this sounds like some NFT type shit. Through the official Neon Ichiban pre-launch sign-up link, fans can get in line for a free digital collectible when the platform launches. You know, that sounded good up until I read that last part. Honestly.
Right.
Might have to still check it out to a point, but I'm gonna hate myself for doing it if we do. But yeah, there we go. Do we have a time frame for this mess? Currently, fans can find out more information about Neon Ichiban through the official website and sign up. There is no planned launch date. Got it. Next up.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it can be, except for that last part. I mean, that last stuff, but yeah, definitely. I mean, because think about it. Like, if you know, you may be more of a comic fan who dabbles in who dabbles in manga. You can go one way or the other way.
And just combine everything, right?
Yeah, if they have enough of both sides to make that viable, put it that way. I mean, but from the people they have, looks like on board, potentially, because I should read this real quick. Participating publishers include Dark Horse, DC, Distillery, Kodensha, Marvel Comics, Oni Press, and Vault Comics. Not necessarily a whole lot on the manga side, but Kodensha's kind of big, so you know, there's no Viz Media or any of that like on there, so that's a little iffy. But like I said,
what's interesting about this is that, you know, take it from the point of view of someone who goes to cons to get their favorite book signed by their favorite creators, right?
Sure.
Imagine loading up all of your digital comics on your iPad and then going and waiting online to your, you know, with your creators to get them to sign their Neon Ichiban book.
Yeah, that part's fine. It was the whole selling and trading and the whole selling and trading and stuff.
Right, because what it is that you can do that with the regular books, so they have to give them a little bit of flexibility with that, and I get that, and I can appreciate at least the idea of it. Yes. You know, because I do know people who flip these books that have signatures on them, people who collect simply for that, which makes in a case like this, which makes the like a new market. It might develop like a new market for signatures as opposed to like signatures on top of slab books, as opposed to signatures on top of non-slab, non-graded books. So, it's just another, possible way for certain people to make money off of these things, including artists. So we'll see if this develops anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna read this one last piece, then we'll push on. Co-founder and CEO of Neon Ichiban, Dave Steinberger, said of the platform, quote, "Neon Ichiban is more than a store. It's a platform devoted to bringing reading and collectability to a united global audience for comics and manga. This is the next evolution of digital comics. We're empowering fans with access, control, and engagement, and providing creators with tools to directly connect with their audience like never before," end quote. Steinberger has previously discussed the sale of Comixology app to Kindle, which Steinberger oversaw during his time with the company. So I guess he knows a slight thing or two about a thing or two, possibly, but still.
Right. No, we'll see if this even gets off the ground.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, yes, there's some headway on it from what I've seen of this and from elsewhere, but we'll see. Von Gloom says, "Not today, Satan." In relation to Neon Ichiban, hey, that might be, that might be the thing you go to. We don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Next up, though,
Alrighty, this is me. Oni Press suspends distribution via Diamond immediately and for the foreseeable future. Oni Press has stopped distributing new comics and graphic novels through Diamond Comic Distributors, effective with the titles with the June 23rd final order cutoff date. Let's see here. According to a message posted on the private FOC Facebook page on this past Wednesday, due to circumstances beyond our control, effective immediately and for the foreseeable future, new comic and graphic novels from Oni Press will only be offered via Lunar distribution and will not be available via Diamond Comics distribution. This will hopefully be a temporary situation, and they will advise on any other upcoming changes as soon as they have updates to share. I mean, at the end of the day, I think most comic book stores are, biting the bullet and opening accounts with both Lunar and Penguin, because Diamond is, going through some serious changes and through some serious rocky, some rocky times here with their distribution. So I think most of these distribution problems are only dealing with the last publishers or the last things that comic stores, the direct market stores, are getting through Diamond.
Sure.
Which is still a few things, but most of them are getting most of their books through Lunar and Penguin at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up. Sue Lee brings The Wizard of Oz with original graphic novel adaptation from Dynamite. It's coming in September. Quote is, "I'm not reinventing the wheel," Lee says, "but I'm adding my interpretation to the history of this legendary story." It's going to be 128 full-color pages. And apparently, according to this article, this adaptation promises a heartfelt and visually rich return to Oz for fans new and old. If that name Sue Lee might be kind of familiar for some folks, namely, I guess, us. Thundercats Chitara was the book, or at least the last book that I don't know about. And apparently she wrote a Maleficent book as well. There you go. Next up.
Why? So William Shatner is apparently mocking IDW logos as well. Like I said, William Shatner pokes fun at the new Star Trek The Last Starship logo from IDW Publishing. Shatner jokes the merged lettering makes the comic book look like it's tilted. The L.A. Starship. The Last Starship comic resurrects Captain Kirk in Star Trek Discovery's post-burn era. IDW's bold logo decisions draw attention, sparking buzz among Star Trek fans and Shatner himself. Okay.
I guess I'll take this time to mention that, I did put an addendum to to last week's show when I mentioned something about this book. But yeah, this seems like this is taking place during later seasons of Discovery, where there's a time jump where Discovery goes into the future, and I believe where that whole burn thing happens. So, and which is far, far into the future, which is, I guess, how the fact that Shatner's version of somehow Kirk comes back somehow, even though, as Agent 70 put it, he didn't remember when he died. He died in Generations, technically, in Star Trek Generations, but it was a stupid ass death, and possibly one that they could do something with. I don't know, but yeah, there you go. Either way, next up, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles returns to NYC for a new era, and we have the exclusive origin of that series. I'm not sure. Well, so basically, this kind of threw me off because it was like, well, this book has been going on for a minute, but this article is talking about the library edition of the I guess the first arc. So yeah, it collects the first 6 issues of the series. That's the trade, and then DW is releasing a library edition of the first arc, and CBR has an exclusive look at some extra materials from it, including Jason Aaron's original outline for the series. And yeah, that's pretty much what that is. So there you go. Next up,
acclaimed writer Kieron Gillen is teaming up with fan favorite artist Steve Lieber and celebrated colorist Tamara Bonvillain for a haunting new one-shot titled Closer. Originally serialized across issues number 7 to 9 of the Image anthology, the complete story will now be available in a standalone comic this fall. Closer kicks off with birds suddenly appearing and ends with nothing less than the death of the heavens. Described as a cosmic horror tale you can dance to, the story is part romance, part apocalypse, and all pop single energy. Okay.
it seems to be a Gillen thing involving music somehow, some way. So,
Right. It could be pronounced closer also. So, I'm wondering if closer may imply something else. I see that and I'm like, well, it's not baseball, so it might be closer.
I was thinking also closer, but yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Next up though, actually, you know what? I'm gonna drop this in. No, I'm gonna talk about this right now. You shouldn't have. I should have given you this one. But Robert Kirkman and David Finch announced their new series, Skinbreaker. It's coming out in September. Let's see. From Skybound.
Oh, you want to do the next one too? That's fine.
Okay, sure, thanks. Issue 1 arrives with multiple variants, of course, deluxe editions, the oversized treasure editions for collectors. The Kirkman describes Skinbreaker as an emotional, action-packed epic that marks a high point in both creators' careers, according to this article. Skinbreaker follows Chieftain Enor and his heir Anak fighting for survival amid brutal threats and power struggles. So there you go. And there's some art here, and the first episode, which is going to be one of 8, by the by, because it's 8 issue series, September 24th, and typo also, but let's go. But yeah, next story is the news we've been basically waiting for, folks. We did not know who was going to be taking over the reins of Transformers when Daniel Warren Johnson leaves. Well, now we do, and it is indeed Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora. Which, if you think about it, probably is not that big of a surprise, because with Kirkman been seeding Void Rivals the way he has and whatnot, and also quite invested of how this whole thing goes. I guess it could make some sense. So Kirkman joins the existing team of colorist Mike Spicer and letterer Russ Wooton. Quote, as he says here, I've been so invested in this series since the beginning. When Daniel Warren Johnson's run ended, I couldn't stay on the sidelines. It's an honor to be a part of these characters' legacy. Dan Mora echoed the excitement. Drawing my favorite Autobots and Decepticons takes me right back to my childhood. I hope to add my own spark, to their story. So first of all, Dan Mora and his art, great, awesome. That I love that, because I love Dan
It's a
Mora's
pivot.
art.
It's a pivot.
Kinda.
It's definitely going to be a pivot. More than kinda. It's a pivot in terms of style, because the Daniel Warren Johnson and Jorge Corona led art on Transformers up to date, up to this, up to the current issues of the book, has been pretty raw, pretty grimy, is one way to put it. Whereas Dan Mora's art is super clean.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's definitely a pivot in terms of style, and it will be interesting to see if some of the tone that the art sets changes. And it's almost certainly going to change, because we're going to have a change in writing and writing style. There might still be lots of bodies hitting the floor, because it is Kirkman after all.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I'm not sure how I feel about the switch in writing. I mean, I agree that Mora's art is strong. It's just a stylistic choice that I'm not sure is going to lend itself to the storytelling. I was mildly hoping that Jorge Corona might stay on as the artist.
Yeah, he's still going to be doing covers, looks like, but yeah, definitely. But it's not doing interiors anymore. For the folks that are interested, there's some preview art on the story, but also if you're watching the video version, you have seen me scroll through some of it, some unlettered pages. There you go, as well as variant covers, some of which look very, very nice as well. So, worth noting also. Let's see. I'm not going to skip that part. Transformers 25 features a massive lineup of variant covers. That's not the part I was going to read. The next evolution of Transformers, there we go, begins October 8th. So that's when Transformers 25 is going to come out. So there you go. And so going back to what Von Gloom said one earlier, excuse me. Will Kirkman continue to write Void Rival? Yes, I believe. I don't know. We don't have any, one way or the other, but yeah, I can't see why he would drop that just because he's writing this. Because a lot of stuff has been laid out. He's just kind of continuing. Like, granted, yeah, he's still got work ahead of him, but still. Also, Von Gloom says, is Mora a human? How many monthlies is he juggling without his art quality degrading? Let's see. He's doing Batman, Superman. I think he's still doing he's doing Justice League as well. I think with Wade, if I'm not mistaken. So
there might be a team on Justice League.
There is. I know there's been other people on that book. Yes, but I know he's doing Batman, Superman. I can't. And I know there is something else he's doing. I know he was also on that new history book, but but there's going to be other people on that book as well. So yeah, I'm not sure how much he's actually taken on outside of Batman, Superman, and I feel like there is at least one other book that he's doing regularly, but I can't remember what it is at this point. Regardless, hey, hopefully man knows what he's doing, and he won't burn out. But yeah, that's it for that. So yeah, the asked then answered. Von Gloom says Mora's art is a bit prettier than Warren. Well, to be fair, that's always going to be the case. Warren is perfect for the slobber knocker. He is doing the Super Sentai Batman. Oh, he's doing that Batman Justice Buster thing, I guess, I'm assuming. If that's what you're talking about. So I guess I'm not reading that, but regardless, keep it pushing because we still got some more Superman. That's right, that's the other book. He's doing Superman. Who's doing one of the Superman books? Outside of Batman, Superman, that is. So either way, next up,
the Transformers franchise is about to introduce the most useless Decepticon of all time. No, it's not Starscream. Per a press release from Skybound Entertainment, the world of Transformers is set to expand with a brand new original graphic novel, Transformers Worst Bot Ever Meet Ballpoint, written by Brian Smith and illustrated by Mars Jr. Transformers Worst Bot Ever Meet Ballpoint is set to introduce what might be the single most useless member of the Decepticons of all time in the form of Ballpoint, who unfortunately might not actually be all that much more than meets the eye. Got it.
Worth noting, there was a free comic book day that previewed this also from this year. So yeah, if you caught that, you can get a little glimpse of that. I believe it's an all ages jobby. So there it is. Next up though, so this is again rumor, and I meant to take this out of here because of that fact, but it's not like we're we don't do rumor stuff. But DC Comics will now be distributed by the USA by Universal, according to this Bleeding Cool article. Again, rumor, scoop, whatever you want to call it, speculation. I don't know. It's let's see. Universal Distribution would now distribute DC Comics to comic book stores across the US. Marks a major expansion for Universal, who was previously a dominant distributor in Canada only, and the other stuff with Diamond, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, if that isn't true, then I guess that's a thing. So next up,
That's interesting because when I saw Universal in the headline, I was like, Universal Studios is distributing comics now?
Right, NBC. I thought NBC Universal, so I was like, what the hell? Which I guess is probably the same thing. I'm not sure, but yeah, I thought something different as well too. I was like, that's weird. So, and yes, Von Gloom, that ballpoint transforms into a prim, presumably, because that's what other.
Yeah, we're assuming that.
Yeah, logically. Next up though. Oh wait, is this me?
No, I got it. The Deadpool Batman crossovers backup stories sound more fun than the main event. Oh my god. So, we got news that Marvel and DC are working together to do a crossover one-shot. We'll release crossover one-shots featuring Deadpool and Batman teaming up later this year. So you get DC will publish Batman Deadpool #1 from Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. That's another book he's doing. While Marvel has tapped Zeb Wells and Greg Capullo for Deadpool Batman #1. The backup stories and the creative pairs for Marvel's book were announced Friday, and they might end up being more fun than the main crossover. You get Daredevil and Green Arrow teaming up in a tale penned by Kevin Smith and drawn by Adam Kubert. Captain America and Wonder Woman will meet in a story written by Chip Zdarsky with art from Terry Dodson. And perhaps most importantly, you get Super Pets and Good Boys, Jeff the Land Shark and Crypto the Super Dog in a story written by Kelly Thompson and Guri Hiru. Okay.
Both very good boys. And yeah, I'm kind of with them on that. Like, yeah, I'd rather read Jeff and Crypto than Deadpool and Batman at this point. That's just me. That's just me. So yeah. Next up though, fan favorite Absolute DC Comics announces hiatus. So Absolute Martian Manhunter is officially going on hiatus for the next 2 months, per a June 20th Twitter post from critically acclaimed writer Dennis Camp. DC Comics Absolute Martian Manhunter series will be taking that said break. The decision was made so that the creative team and quality can stay consistent, with Camp adding that the series will, quote, be back after the 2-month break with another 6-issue arc. And then I guess that points to the Twitter post in question. Originally planned for only a handful of issues, the overwhelmingly positive response to Absolute Martian Manhunter saw the series extended almost immediately. Really? Within 2 days of its release, DC Comics have greenlit Absolute Manhunter for a full 12-issue run. Camp celebrated the news on social media while confirming that every single issue would feature the same creative team, with Javier Rodriguez providing main cover and interior art, and Hassan Mane Alao continuing to letter the breakout hit series. So, okay. Cool, I guess. I have not read any of this, so, oh well. Next up.
All right, as shared by the Sean Gordon Murphy art account on social media, quoting Sean as saying, "This is a work in progress. He can't yet say what this is for." What we're referring to is Sean Gordon Murphy teasing a new Lobo comic for DC Comics, and that's fueling speculation among fans. Lobo is set for a resurgence with his upcoming movie appearance alongside Supergirl in 2026. Okay.
I really enjoyed Batman White Knights, and it's hard to say that for a Batman series for me for anything, but that was some great stuff. If he brings that same kind of energy to the Lobo book, I might check it out. Who's to say? Don't know. Wonder how an absolute Lobo would be, says Von Gloom. Who even knows at this point? DC to Omnibus? Okay, sure. Mike Grell's The Warlord. So, let's see. DC Comics will collect Mike Grell's Sword and Sorcery series, The Warlord, in a hardcover omnibus that will be remastered with the original colors. Let's see. The Warlord by Mike Grell Omnibus hardcover Volume 1 will include first issue special number 8, the anthology issue where the story launched, and The Warlord 1 through 36, as well as new introduction and painted back wraparound cover by Grell. It's going to go on sale November 25th of this year, 2025, with an MSRP of $100. So, and then it just goes into series, how long the series went. The fragging bastards drawn by him. Oh. Nice. Next up.
Marvel is gearing up for a major milestone with Amazing Spider-Man number 1000. And it all starts this September with issue number 11, the 975th in the series. To celebrate the countdown, superstar artist Lee Bermejo will be creating a special run of Amazing Visions variant covers, beginning with issue number 11 and continuing through to number 36, which will be the historic 1000th issue. So Bermejo's 25 covers will highlight some of the most iconic and defining moments in Spider-Man's history, from his origin story to major showdowns with his greatest foes. Known for his hyper-detailed, realistic style, Bermejo brings a grounded cinematic energy to Spidey's past, present, and future. So, listen, Lee Bermejo is a really gifted artist. I have a sketch from him that I got for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these covers look
like a long time ago. It was a Batman sketch he did, and it's one of the sketches that when other artists flip past it, they stop and always have something to say about it. You know, they ask after it, as it were. So it's very, this is very, very solid work, and it's pretty fitting that they would ask him to kick off these kind of anniversary-esque covers.
Right, like I said, the cover. If you're watching the video version, you can see the three covers. Well, three of the covers for the upcoming books that are coming, and they look great. Warlord, the dude with the Ali Queen beard and Conan fit. Yes, that Warlord. Wait. Peter loses his job. His girlfriend leaves him. Usual Parker frackery happens to Pete. Yeah, I guess that's true. Lee's Joker story was amazing. So I'm not sure what I did not know he did.
Bermejo maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's who he's talking about, definitely. But I don't know the story he's talking about. So, but cool. Next up, though, Ultimate Spider-Man writer Jonathan Hickman isn't staying in space after the end of Marvel's 4-issue Imperial. Let's see. The first issue of Imperial has just been released, but the future of the company's sci-fi franchises is already beckoning, and it will be a future without current architect. And it will be a future without current architect Jonathan Hickman, the writer who's pulled all of Imperial together. Quote: Jonathan is writing Imperial and will be co-writing the assorted Imperial one-shots that come out between 3 and 4. But that'll be it for him thereafter, according to Brevoort, responding to a fan asking whether or not Hickman will be attached to a series spinning out of the event. Let's see. Hickman's not sticking around for a spinoff means that Imperial is different from both the Ultimate Universe and X-Men work, where he wrote in the introductory miniseries setting up the core concept before settling into ongoing series, exploring one of those concepts in more details, talking about Ultimate Spidey and the Cocoon era. Let's see, and it goes into some other stuff where he was talking about stuff from on some podcasts. So there you go. Next up.
Alrighty.
Von Gloom says the art was gritty and wondrous. I'm talking about that Joker story that Bermejo did.
Nice. Let's see. So I don't want to read the editorialized part of this article, but apparently Hawkeye is going on a covert mission in the Ultimate Universe to thwart the Maker. Hawkeye made their debut in the Ultimate Universe in last year's Ultimate story. Let's see here. So Ultimate Hawkeye #1 will continue the character's journey in a starring role as they go on a dangerous mission to take out the Maker single-handedly. Okay. So sure. Ultimate Hawkeye #1 is written by Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas and B. Earl, the writing duo behind Daredevil and Echo and Werewolf by Night.
Yep.
So this is a one-shot.
Yep. Yep. To which that Werewolf by Night wasn't terrible. You know.
Right. The book goes on sale in September.
Yeah. So nothing to write home about either, but yeah, sure. But I'll check this out. Hickman should have Ewing follow up and redefine the space stuff. That'd be dope. Von Gloom, that would be dope. Looks like Marvel canceled Daredevil, but what about Psylocke and Magic? I'm going to say this is possibly rumor, or maybe not. I don't know. According to this Bleeding Cool article, Marvel cancels Daredevil, the West Coast Avengers, new champions, leaving Magic and Psylocke's fate in question. Magic stands out with strong sales, but hints suggest Magic 10 could still be the series finale. This article's pointing out that Marvel offered an end series at issue 10, despite recent promises for longer runs on new titles, and that Psylocke may be facing cancellation too, as her 10th is missing from September solicits again. So, I mean, if that is the case, that is the case, I guess. Out of all of those books, I would weirdly enough hate to see two of them go. You can guess which ones.
I mean, I'm not all that surprised that Daredevil would be ending after 25 issues because, you know, it could be that Saladin Ahmed has reached, you know, hit the end of his story.
Right.
You know, whether or not they're just going to end up rebooting with a number one soon to follow. Come on, we all know that's going to happen, especially with a character that, you know, that has exposure like Daredevil. It's just a matter of, you know, figuring out a good time and place for a new run. It's the other characters that, you know, some that oftentimes have a more difficult time gaining traction. We discussed this before, you know, regarding other characters who find themselves with being able to only support limited series. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like I said, Daredevil, like it's run out of a little steam now that the Matt Murdock as Priest story kind of reached the end of its track, but you know, who knows where they're going to end this particular run. But you know, like I said, it may it may be the end of Saladin Ahmed's story time on the book as well, story and time on the book.
Also, not surprised if Psylocke and Magic are indeed on chopping block and are probably about to be out. I'm not very much surprised about them two either. Even though I really like the Magic book, and the yeah, I don't know, the Psylocke book had some potential, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if it happens, it's fine. I say that, you know, it's whatever. It's not whatever, but because you hate to see a book go down, you know, for reasons, but sometimes.
Right, and what's funny is that, you know, you're talking about these books making it to issues 9, at least. Well, hopefully they make it to issues 9 or 10. That that gives them 5, you know, 5 stories. Or I mean,
2 arcs,
2 trade paperbacks. Yeah, exactly. 2 trade paperbacks. Apparently, New Champions only made it to issue 8.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because it does mention that New Champions 8, West Coast Avengers 10, and Psylocke 10 are all missing from September solicits. So, or they could be skipping a month for reasons, because as we have just heard, there are some things that are skipping months for reasons. So we'll see. Next up, though, Hasbro's. I can't remember if I did this one or we did this one before, but I don't think so. Hasbro's big Marvel San Diego Comic-Con exclusive is a deep cut Marvel Snap surprise. If you're watching the video version, you can see who it is. Some Savage Land business going on here. So let's see. Announced ahead of San Diego Comic-Con, the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Gameverse Marvel Snap Savage Land 3-pack. That's a mouthful. Is not your usual Avengers lineup or MCU tie-in. This collectible straight up out of Marvel Snap, the hit digital card game, and it's putting the spotlight on a trio of characters that even some comics fans might have to Google. I'm pretty sure you don't have to Google Rogue. Pretty certain. Shauna the She-Devil, maybe. Probably, but the set includes Rogue, Sauron, and the aforementioned Shauna the She-Devil, all styled up to the designs in Savage Land season of Marvel Snap, which pretty much means also from the same source material book.
Right. See what's annoying? Oh, go ahead. Finish up.
No, I was just gonna say, what the set will be available at Hasbro's booth at San Diego, and the price will be $90. And as also, it will end up on HasbroPulse.com.
Oh, that's another set of Marvel Legends I'm gonna end up getting. More action figures. This sucks. So let me tell you something. So, in terms of this being a Marvel Snap thing, I had no idea. But this is Savage Land Rogue.
Right.
People have been clamoring.
Well, that's clamoring. Right.
Right. No. But my point is, at least from the perspective of the collectors, right? People have been clamoring for the Savage Land Rogue. Period. Right.
Right.
They've just put out a Kazar, so why not put out a Shanna the She-Devil?
Yeah.
Right. And for me, well, the Sauron that they put out was a Build-A-Figure. I might end up getting this because I don't have, I kind of like the Sauron figure. I never wanted to pay for the Build-A-Figure. Right. So now it's coming as a one and done figure. This might be my time to pick it up. So sure. I'm kind of annoyed that this on top of Cold Slither is on my shopping list for for San Diego.
Right. Von Gloom says they are on a suicide mission, meaning Ultimate Hawkeye, from going back to that story. Also says, what's up with himbos like Matt and Kurt? Wouldn't call Kurt a himbo, but sure. I get to see where you say that, though. Becoming priests. Wait, New Champions is canceled? Potentially? Possibly? We don't know. But
right.
We shall see.
Right.
Also,
right. What's funny is that... Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, he also last thing he says is the goons are going to buy Savage Land Rogue for sure. What were you gonna say?
So, no, about Daredevil and Nightcrawler becoming priests. What's funny about that is, in addition to being himbos, they're also at least in certain stories and in long histories. In terms of character histories, they are long-term Catholics,
devout. Yes.
So it's not surprising,
right?
I thought that the twist of basically reincarnating Matt Murdock as a priest was brilliant. It's just that they couldn't make it last forever, and they found a way to end it, and now it looks like they're going to revisit that. What were the ramifications of him stopping that particular side gig, as it were? In addition to being Daredevil, right? That's going to be like kind of the impetus or the point of the story that ends this particular run of Daredevil.
Right. I mean, yeah. All that said, those, if any characters, those are definitely the perfect two that would make sense to go priest. Now, let me to be a priest. Like Matt, you could say here, no, but it still stands. Now, question: Did he do the thing where he's like he was in confessional, hearing somebody's confession, and then happened to go track somebody down as Daredevil? Did he do something like that?
It's hard to remember. Hard to remember. The run was actually pretty long, so there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of supernatural stuff to it too. With the seven deadly sins. Remember, if we go back to the YouTube and the podcast records, you'll hear me make mention of hints of some of the story plot lines from Seven.
Yes. He also crossed over. He also did a team up with Scarlet Witch for one of her issues, in which something happened. So, which pretty good read. But anyway, back to these figures. Hey, look, Savage Land Rogue, Shauna the She-Devil. You got a Sauron in there, $90, sure. Also, like how they put that quote in from Spider-Man and X-Men, where Sauron says, "I don't want to cure cancer. I just want to turn people into dinosaurs." Which I love. That line has stayed the course. because people bring it up a lot. And I'm just gonna scroll really quickly through these figures. They look good, no surprise. Shauna with a shot, with a sniper, with a rifle. There's the box stuff with Marvel Snap on it, and there's the extra cards that are on the back. So there you go. So yeah, like I said, even though despite the fact that it has they're kind of counting it in the Gamerverse and Marvel Snap, which I get. I guess I get why they did that. Didn't necessarily need to be, but sure. Next up, though, new MA Mafex revealed T2 Marvel, The Boys, and DC. So yeah, let me see. Mediacom has revealed a number of upcoming Mafex action figures. Let's see. There's going to be a re-release of Miles Morales. There is going to be a T800 and young John Connor and the T1000. There's Batman. There's Homelander from The Boys, and for some stupid reason, Scarlet Spider. Let me stop. It's not nice. But yeah. So various looks like $96 for some of these, and they're very different prices for some of these others. So I'm not even going to go through all of that. And they come with a bunch of stuff with them. The Terminator 2 stuff looks real good. Actually, all of them look real good.
I was about to say that that mean mugging Miles is a little off-putting.
Yes, if you're watching the video version, you see that could be 616 Miles right there. If you're gonna
just
do that.
Mean mugging,
right? Like that's totally a 616 Miles Morales right there. But yeah, like I said, the figures look good. So that they are a little pricey.
I'm like, is he even old enough to make a face like that in the 616?
Well, I'm saying what I'm saying, because you remember when they had that Spider-Man thing, and it was like, well, now there is a 616 version of Miles that they were kind of going up against. I don't know if you remember, that was a while ago, so I don't blame you if you don't.
I mean, I read it. It's just hard to remember.
Right, but that's why it makes me think of that, because if I recall, he was a little he was a little upset that version, but I would have to go back and I don't even remember how that ended, honestly. So regardless, but as far as being old enough, sure, why not? You're never too old to meme a Joker. Let's see.
I think it's just because they've been portraying him younger and younger to fit the mold of Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're keeping him in that kind of age range, so you don't really see the progression in age. So he looks a little on the older side in that sculpt. So.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But anyway, I'll move on to the next story. Arc System Works will host a showcase on Friday, apparently today, at 9:00 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh no, you're right, today. Sorry.
6 p.m. PT. The company revealed as one of the headlining attractions. The live stream event will reveal a new unnamed project from Guilty Gear creator Daisuke Ishiwatari. So what else can we expect? The company will share new information about other Arc System Works titles, including completely new titles that the company is working on. So let's see, with Guilty Gear Strive gearing up for the arrival of Lucy from Netflix's Cyberpunk Edge Runners anime as the final season 4 DLC character, and Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, which was recently announced. There could also be a lot of goodies revealed at the showcase for fighting game fanatics revolving around these two titles.
Yeah, hopefully they're gonna announce some new characters to Token Fighting Souls. I mean, it's
let's hope.
Early, but yeah, you could do it. And yeah,
the showcase will be available to watch on YouTube.
Right. So the if you're watching the video version, you can see the video version thumbnail says 6/27, which we've just crossed over past midnight, so that's why we're trying to hurry up a little bit more. But the thing says Friday, June 26th, which would have been Thursday.
Yeah, it's a typo.
Yeah, so there you go. Because at first I was like, wait, so did this already happen? But it did not, because I checked. Either way, look, we'll talk about it next week to see if there's anything pertinent out of that from My World Token Souls. But
you would get this story.
Yeah, I would, wouldn't I? Riri Richards served popcorn in a new bucket for Fantastic Four First Steps. So there's a new popcorn bucket. Let me click through to the thing. Well, let's see. The bucket hasn't been unveiled. If you're watching the video version, you can see said bucket. It's a blue and white bucket with a Reed Richard figure of Reed Richard with his arm around the bucket. I don't know what that is on the other side. I assume that is his hand. That's absolutely his hand holding the other side of that bucket. So there you go. It'll be $39.99, aka $40, and is one of the several promotional tie-ins planned for the film. Oh yeah, so you can see the other side of the bucket right there if you're watching the video version. So cool, I guess. Sure.
Yeah, Reed with full beard in that too.
Yeah, indeed. I didn't mean to do that. That's fine. Regardless, yeah, you see what he's talking about. Next up, though.
Transformers rolls out exclusive new DIY collectibles for fans of Optimus Prime, Soundwave, and Tarn. So let's see. You get raw 3D prints that will require cleaning, sanding, and painting before looking rollout ready. So this is from a Takara Tomy affiliated retailer, H.E.R.B.I.E. These are DIY collectibles, costing about $20 each, with a debut lineup of Autobots and Decepticons that'll appeal to fans of the franchise. So you get Optimus, Soundwave, and Tarn. So these are garage kits, as it were. So you can. So what size are these? How tall are these?
Yeah, I was about to say they look a little bit slightly taller than miniatures.
Yeah.
But this will appeal to the fans who like to paint miniatures, I guess. And Tarn looks like is a deep cut from the IDW era. From the More Than Meets the Eye comics.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so he's gonna be a peg warmer.
Maybe, probably. Yeah, because I was thinking it was like a Japanese version of a Japanese figure, but I was wrong. So great. Von Gloom says really quick. Let's see. Sauron could compromise and turn people with cancer into dino people. I guess that could work. And aren't Miles and Kamala the same age? I believe they are. If they're not, they're similar aged. They're definitely both. I don't know if they're the same age. Put it that way. That has been the assumption. But
right, they're very close. Right. Let's just say close. They're close and similar, close in age.
Right, but we don't actually know that for certain. Wizards of the Coast announces 2 Magic the Gathering sets. One I'm kind of excited about, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let's see, because we get to see the first card there, which is Avatar Aang, Master of Elements, which is a 2-sided card. Of course, he's going to be 4 out of the 5 elements. 4 out of the 5 colors of magic. So actually, he can use all 5 because of what the other side says. But yes, there's going to be more on that Avatar set in August, if I'm not mistaken, and I think the set's going to be released December, January, I can't remember. But regardless, the second set will be Strixhaven School of Mages. So they're going back to Strixhaven. And yeah, let's see. It doesn't say when. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry. Lorwyn is the first set, and that's going to be January 26th. And I do know the Airbender set they're going to talk about the Airbender set in August, and I can't remember when the set comes out. I think it is like December or January or something like that, but regardless. But I know they usually space them out something. Either way, they're coming one way or another, whether you like it or not, Magic fans. But next up,
last but not least, Attack on Titan fans can now pre-order exclusive character-inspired watches. Garrick has expanded its anime watch line to feature Attack on Titan characters Eren Yeager, Erwin Smith, and Levi Ackerman. So you get the Survey Corps emblem on the front, and you get webbed and marbled watch bands, and you get the dominant color of each associated with the 3 respective characters. So Attack on Titan fans can currently order their watches for, get this folks, $530 each, with Japan Select listing all of them as being released on June 20th. So they're out there for you to order. Crafted from stainless steel, these self-winding watches are made in Japan. Wow.
Apparently watches are the new popcorn bucket in certain respects. Did I put this article in here for Agent 70s? Yes, I did. I mean, the watch part aside, but
Wow.
Would you rock an
a lot of
Attack on
dough.
Titan? Yeah, no. Would you rock an Attack? You good for it. Don't worry about it. Would you rock though an Attack on Titan watch? Is the question.
I mean, it's what's funny is that none of them really represent my favorite character of the anime.
Which is
right, Mikasa Ackerman.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, that is a sad state of affairs, and probably would not be a watch you would probably wear, because if they did it would be a ladies' watch, I would presume.
Oh, like a women's style, yeah.
Yeah. Not saying you couldn't rock it, but still, But yeah, they usually don't. They usually don't target the women folks with stuff like that. But I know a couple of them who would still wear it. But yeah, folks, that's a thing. Catch it, I guess. Von Gloom says Tarn is a sick puppy. I'll take your word for that. Folks, we are going to end this thing up very quickly, but first let's get one last ad read.
Did you have a show and tell?
I did. We'll get to that afterwards.
All right. You got it. Our last ad read of the night. You know what happens when we read an ad and it's late. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
Jeez Louise. All right, folks. Let's see. All right, really quickly. Show and tell. First off, so I had to do it. It's a dumb thing to do, but I did it anyway. I bought a copy of the previews. There's one side and there's the other side, because this is the last one we're gonna get. So this is the June issue. Yeah, I bought it from a store last week, and there it is. Also, this is a side point, but I bought speaking of Magic the Gathering, I bought an old set for a pre-release, but that was not exactly the reason. So I could add some cards to my collection in Arena. But the more interesting thing personally was this copy of Looney Tunes collection that just came out last month, I believe. So this is a fresh collection of which I heard might have some gems in it. I don't know if it's like a full, whatever, but this is a volume 1, so there's guaranteed to probably be some more stuff on that. So I don't know what is all in this on this Blu-ray outside of the characters, and the print's kind of small and I don't have my glasses on, so there is like that. But yeah, got a Looney Tunes collection because we just, what, the way things are going, are we ever going to get a full one? Probably not, but I figure better get in where the getting's good, right? Right. And that, folks, is that. As we shoot back over to this. There we go, folks. That's it for this week's show. It's a longer one. I apologize. I'll probably cut a good 10 minutes off of this, but probably not much more than that. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram and Blue Sky on Roddykat. Got all that. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. Did you hit it? There you go. It cut out. It's we have to figure out what's going on with that. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this on your podcast place of choice, whether it be Apple, iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page. But you can also find us every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, probably closer to 10 if we were being really, really honest. YouTube.com/TheKliqNation and Twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. Hit that notification button so you know when we're on live and direct.
Indeed. All right, folks. Holla at you all later next week or whenever I do any other streams outside of that, because 4th of July might be a Captain America stream for Captain America Super Soldier. I'm putting it out there right now. I have to figure out if that's going to be viable or if I'm going to be around. Probably will be. We'll see. But stay tuned for that. This has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Good evening, Rick.
Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?